The best cheap dress watch on AliExpress is right here. It delivers a unique way of telling the time, a dial that's bursting with details, and it's one of the best value dress watches on the entire market. Now, some of you may already recognize this watch. However, this is a new version that has some huge upgrades. Indeed, this is a watch that has already developed a bit of a cult following amongst affordable watch collectors, and it's no surprise as to why with its beautiful dial design. But the original version of this watch did have one huge flaw that held me personally back from picking one up. This problem, however, has been fixed, and this new watch is now genuinely near perfect for the price. In fact, I would go as far as saying that this watch is my #1 pick for the best dress watch on AliExpress. Hello there, my name is Kieran, welcome to Top Tier Ticker, I hope you're having a good day. Today we're going to be taking a look at an absolutely brilliant watch by Chinese watch brand Enquiries. They have sent over this watch for free, but as usual, all views and opinions are mine only. And to be honest, I was going to buy this watch to review anyway. I personally feel that it's one of the most compelling options when it comes to this style on the market for the price. So let's start off with that, the price. This watch comes in at less than $150 from the official Enquiries AliExpress store. There simply aren't many watches offering this style, this spec sheet, and this much originality at this price point. In fact, I think you'll struggle to find a half-decent dress watch for anything less than $300. So with this watch coming in at half that, it's a watch to seriously consider. Few main points to cover here today. Yes, it does have a wacky way of telling the time. It's unconventional and definitely has a learning curve. We'll take a look at the differences between the older model and this new 2024 release. And I am actually going to roast this watch a little bit towards the end of the video for one of its features, so stay tuned for that. Firstly, what the hell is going on with this dial? Well, this watch actually features a jump hour complication. Basically, this watch doesn't feature a traditional hour hand. Instead, the hour is displayed in a window at the top of the dial. The central hand is your standard minute hand, and this works as normal. Then we have a small seconds register beneath the pinion. Again, this works like normal. And this is actually a mechanical movement too, but we'll cover that in detail a little bit later. Basically, to read the time, you check the hour window first, the central minute hand next, and then the sub-seconds if you need it. It's basically deconstructed the time so that everything has its own place. Yes, reading the time at a glance isn't as easy as a traditional watch, but that's kind of the point here. It makes you just take an extra few seconds to actually look, and hopefully within that time, you'll appreciate this watch's beautiful dial design. Which does mean that this watch needs to have a good looking dial. After all, you'll probably be looking at this watch just a little bit more than a traditional watch. And I personally think that it's this dial that makes this watch so compelling. Yes, the jump hour complication is exceptionally cool to have in a collection. But you know what's even cooler? Just having a cool looking watch. I think it's fair to say that this dial design is vintage inspired, specifically from the Art Deco period of design. The main thing I do want to highlight here though is just how much detail this dial delivers. The sub-seconds register alone is bursting with facets. We see different finishes and angles all within a few millimeters. That then opens up to the central 3D sunburst finish, with the hour window having a shutter style opening, and the Pierre Paulin branding sat on a plateau above. The printed minutes is the only bit of relief we get from detail, allowing those Breguet style numerals to really pop against the green. I also have to give credit for an excellent choice of hands on this watch. I don't really know what to call this style, let me know in the comments if you do, but they look great with the design. And with all the craziness that's going on with this dial, you'd expect them to keep the other areas simple to not overwhelm the design. And to be fair, they have somewhat done that with the case of the watch. It does feature an extremely basic silhouette, but the side profile reveals an unusual double curved bezel. This curvature does work well with the flow from the lug to the crystal though, albeit an unnecessary feature. I'm also pleasantly surprised to see the brushing to the case sides. Typically watches of this style exclusively feature polishing. I can't say however that this brushing is done to a high standard because it isn't. It's certainly not horrendous, but it's far from exceptional. The polishing to the upper lugs, however, is pretty good, which I suppose is the most important part as this is the bit that we'll be looking at most of the time anyway. But one benefit to that little bit of lug polishing is the versatility. That finish means that we can pop this watch on a mesh strap and it looks fantastic. Although, to be fair, the supplied leather strap is actually one of the better ones I've had from AliExpress. My one complaint with it is that it's bloody massive. And I hate wearing straps that are too long like this because I think that the excess leather is ugly and uncomfortable. Luckily, the 20mm lug opening and drilled lugs makes this a watch that you can play around with very easily. But my favourite has absolutely been this mesh strap, which I'll also leave a link to in the description. Speaking of, the wearing experience is another huge factor to this watch's success. I think most will agree that a dress watch should be a little bit smaller in size, and I'm happy to tell you that this watch is. It comes in with a 38mm case diameter, a 46mm lug to lug, and a 12.5mm thickness. Generally speaking, these are small dimensions for a contemporary dress watch, with most options from bigger brands coming in at either much wider or much longer. I think that this watch is a size that will work for a lot of people. It has classy dimensions that will suit larger wrists just as much as smaller. And don't worry too much about that thickness either. The curvature of the watch hugs the wrist nicely. But one thing I will advise is not getting this watch too wet. It does come with 50 meters of water resistance, which some brands state to be swim-proof, but why risk it? The case back is screwed down, but the crown isn't. It'll likely survive a dip if you need it to, but I certainly won't be testing it for fun. But one area that you don't need to be careful is with the crystal, because this is where Mercure has upgraded this watch. The original version of this piece came with a domed mineral crystal, yuck. And I'd say that that was the main criticism of that original watch, so I'm glad they've swapped it out for a piece of sapphire on this new model. Now, this is a fairly basic piece of double dome sapphire. It features little to no anti-reflective treatment, but it does the job that a sapphire needs to do. But what actually makes this watch special for me and makes it such a standout is that it's mechanical. A mechanical jump hour complication isn't something you find often. The movement used inside of this watch is the Seagull ST17. This is an automatic movement that has a 40-hour power reserve and beats at 21,600 vibrations per hour. Now, it's a movement that won't blow your socks off in terms of accuracy or how it feels. In fact, this movement doesn't even feature hacking seconds. But when you see the hour jump over, I think you'll understand why this movement is so special. Just like the ST19 chronograph movement, it delivers a complication that usually is only reserved for high-end watchmaking. A complication that has no right being in a watch at this price. But I do have a couple of things that I don't like about this watch that I think you should consider if you're thinking about picking one up. The hands on this watch are just a bit short, aren't they? I get that the minute hand stretches out to the numbers, but I think it should have stretched right out to the minute track and allowed the hollowed circle to display the numbers through the center. I just think that this watch is already hard enough to read at a glance with the jump hour complication. Why not stretch the hands out to the perimeter and just make it that bit easier to read? And is this watch a Mercure? Is it a Pierre Paulin? I don't know. I don't even think they know. I'm just so confused by the branding on this watch. We have Pierre Paulin on the dial, Mercure on the case back, and then whatever this random logo is on the crown. What is going on here? It also says 1982 below the Pierre Paulin text on the dial. What date is this even referencing? In fact, Mercure actually makes watches with 4 different brand names on the dial. It's all extremely confusing, and I wish they'd just sort their branding out a little bit, but I guess it is what it is. Affordable dress watches are hard to come by, especially if you want one that's got a little bit of spice to it. So now that Mercure has upgraded the crystal on this watch to sapphire, it's genuinely up there, in my opinion anyway, with the very best. You'll find a link to the official Mercure AliExpress store in the description, and go and check out the 4 other colour options that this watch comes in. The salmon pink dial is also super beautiful. I think you'll like it. If you haven't already, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one, guys. Bye for now.